All right, we're going to reconvene the regular council meeting. We're going to resolve into the committee of the whole recommendation that resolve itself into the committee of the whole at 5:03. I need a mover. Councillor Ayers, Councillor Malmus. So before we go into the actual meeting, I would like to welcome Jason Kuhn. He came to us. He's going to be our community services manager, looking after social services. And I think we want to welcome with a round of applause. Look forward to you facing all the serious challenges that are going to be coming your way shortly.
Sounds good.
Just so you know. All right. Getting into the details, District of Sicamous Christmas events. Staff report. Jamie, you want to come up here and give us a off as to how we're going to light up the community? Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Kind of fitting that I'm doing this report today with the snow that's falling outside. So I just wanted to give council an update that, you know, in 2020, we faced some definite challenges. They have been able to gather, upgrades and so on. So I'm very excited to announce that this year we will be having our annual Christmas light up parade. Little different than past years. We will be running through the subdivision streets because we still are under HO orders to not encourage any type of public gatherings or congregation. So we felt that the parade that we used in 2020 for Canada Day was quite successful. So staff chose to option. Allow those who do not live on that side of the subdivision still a place to park to watch the parade at Parkview School, at Parkview Mall, as well as at Larch Avenue next to Diamond number 4 in Finlayson Park. On top of that, we're going to continue on with our Christmas light up contest. So Sarah has been great on helping getting that word out. We are getting some feedback from people and we're starting to see lots of great houses being decorated. So there'll be a panel of staff members that will go out and do the community judging, and we will have our People's Choice Award as well for this year, and that will go live on our website on December the 8th, and it will be open to December 17th with all the winners being announced on December the 20th. Hard to believe we're talking about December already. So for that weekend, we kind of picked a few key events that are happening. So we know with no holiday train this year and some of the other events that normally benefit the food bank, we advertise that Friday, December 3rd, that's going to be the Sicamous Eagles Knit and Toque Toss. Lots of other organizations do toy toss, but what we find with our local community resource centers, they have oodles and oodles of toys that come in, but things like socks, toques, mitts, and things like that are things that they definitely need for families, not just for children, but just to put that out there that, you know, moms, dads need socks and slippers too. And so when the Eagles score their first goal on the game, that's when we litter the ice with toques and mitts and anything else that you can think of. So we'd like to invite all of council to participate and come to us that day. It's also going to be $5 Friday with an admission. Normally charge $8, but we'll drop it down to $5 with a food bank donation to help fill up the shelves at our local food bank. And then of course on the Sunday afternoon starting will be our annual food and toy drive done by the fire department. This will be done with Malaqua, Swansea Point, as well as our local fire department here. Any questions? I'm short and sweet tonight.
Questions from council? Councillor Anderson.
So thanks, Jamie. I'm glad to see that there's, you know, something, the parade's going on. When is the Christmas tree light? Is that night?
That will be something Daryl and I are still going to coordinate. There won't be an official light up because we cannot encourage any of the congregation. But I think Daryl and I have gone back and forth that hoping that that would be the night that we would light up the tree, signifying the whole light up.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea.
Hopefully
Thanks.
2022 will be back better than ever.
Better.
Almost go ahead.
For the Sunday, December the 5th at 10 a.m. For the Fireman's Annual Food and Toy Drive, I'd like to challenge the council and staff. I'm I would like to challenge all of us to donate $50. I'll put my 50 up now. Anybody else?
Sorry, for which?
Go ahead.
Sunday's Fireman's Annual Food and Toy Drive. They're looking for food and donations enough. I'm gonna offer up $50 and I challenge everybody else. And if you want to go higher, I'm fine with that too. I just didn't want to bug the guy with the fixed income.
Pensioner on a fixed income.
Pensioner.
I haven't bought presents for the grandkids yet.
I accept your challenge. I have grandkids. Go ahead. Evan, did you want to comment?
No, I just thought if I like Counselor Mama, she can do better than that. I can go $100.
Deb, you're going like this. Go ahead.
Just here, just in case Jamie's leaving, if you guys don't mind an early question from the gallery. If you guys can do me a big favor, I'm not gonna be back at that time. Some good pictures, and then all I request is if I can get an email to me right away, because inevitably I go to put together the judge's document and we're trying to sift through 5,000 and it's right.
And
So
actually, speaking of that, Deb, sorry, through the chair, I believe Carly has a videographer coming in for that
Oh,
weekend
nice.
to catch everything, so let's touch base with Carly, and between her and I, we'll get you definitely some information.
perfect.
So back to,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Mr. Parliament, are you upping it to 100 for everybody?
I got a double U, yeah. So
You got a double me.
I'm used to that, yeah.
So is that a double?
Doubling you to 100. Yes, I'm in for 100.
And if I double you, you're gonna double me again?
You can match my 100 and then I'm gonna call.
All right. Any other comments for Jamie? Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Good job.
Do that.
One more comment. Sorry, through the chair. Hello.
Go ahead.
Where do we put this money to? Like, do we actually give it to the fire hall or where do we go with this?
If it's easy, we can coordinate it through Brett, or we can coordinate it through my office, and we can make sure that the resource center gets the money from everybody. Whatever is easiest for council.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. So thank you, Jamie. I'm looking forward to that parade.
Yeah.
Been a tough year when it comes to COVID. Okay, community forest update. Mr. Malmus, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know what? I could probably just go like this and pass this around. I'll go two this way. Just so the staff here can see. So I heard about this, then Councillor McCabe at a very ungodly hour for him in the morning, sent me a message. It was like 6:05 or 6:13. That I should look at this, and I'd actually forgotten about it. It hasn't been actually decided yet, but it's Bill 28. And the important part of it is, I'll just read it. Through a new tool such as special purpose area, the government will be able to reduce the timber harvesting rights that existing forest tenure hold and compensate them and then redistribute the timber harvesting rights to First Nations communities and BP timber sales, which means it moves us back in the arena for a community forest. So, I reached out to Greg McEwen, the mayor of Enderby, and they were already aware of it as well. And so we're going to have a meeting about it. But right now, Koopy, Chief Wayne Christian, has been sick. So we're trying to find out who the alternative might be to him, like George, not George Dennis, George Williams.
George William.
So I was going to try and get a hold of Teresa, see if we could have a meeting with her and George. Basically, get our name at the front of this list. They actually, if they pass it, we want to get right to the front. Although I think the way they've logged these hills around here, there's not much left up there. Some firewood. So, but that's good news for us. They talked about this at a meeting that Terry and I had with at that time the Assistant Deputy Minister Richard Manwary, and they had talked about it, but they now are actually enacting on it. So that could be really good for us.
So just to comment on this, this came to the CSRD meeting the other day, and it was well discussed, and as to public consultation when it comes to the change in the Forest Act, and I spoke on behalf of it too, and I said, well, there's a lot of changes that needed to be discussed. And I'm glad it's coming to the table once again, and it's going to give us maybe the opportunity to have our community forest. Because 30 years ago, every community in British Columbia had a community forest. And now they're looking at maybe giving that back to us. So I think this is a real positive move as well. So yeah, thanks to Councillor Malmus for bringing that to our attention. So any other comments on this? All right, we'll move on. All right, strategic priorities. Any comments or questions when it comes to streets? There's strategic priorities. Got my tongue twisted up. Daryl, you want to give us a bit of a report as to the bridge?
The bridge.
Yeah.
Had a meeting on Tuesday. We've got probably more bodies on the bridge this week than I've seen yet. Contractors there with all his materials, and they're doing rebar across the downstream deck. So all of that is getting tied in, about a 4-day process. They're looking at pouring the deck in 2 or 3 separate pours, and that'll start early next week. So if the weather turns a little bit, they're prepared to cover it and heat it and get those sections done. So it'll start taking shape.
So Brian, are you going to be glad when that bridge is finished? You and I both. Go ahead, Councillor McKay.
Is it going to be a Christmas present?
Santa gonna get across there?
Let's I think so.
Back up.
Well, they're pouring next week, which is a good sign. So
Any other comments or questions in regards to strategic priorities? Councillor Malmus?
I'd just like to say that I attended the rail trail meeting last Friday and put forward a number of times the idea that the district of Sicamous wanted to control its own waterfront. And it came to the meeting via the idea that we'd sent a letter in basically stating that we wanted to have a lease so that we controlled the upland, so that we could control docks and such on the rail trail side. And it wasn't well received. 4 or 5 kicks at the cat. And we did get some support. And unfortunately, it wasn't the time and place that I really wanted to see that be brought up, because the mayor and I had only met with 4 members. And those 4 members voted in favor of what we were asking for, but the rest that we didn't get a chance to sit down, they never gave us a chance to really elaborate on everything. But the interesting comment is that Charles Hamilton point blank said, there was a comment made that the Dock Owners Coalition had some money and they intended on fighting them legally. And I mentioned that, and I mentioned the idea that, we could do mediation. Charles Hamilton said, well, arbitration is not, I said, I didn't say arbitration, I said mediation. Mediation is a non-binding discussion that would come back to the Rail Trail Governance Committee. And they voted it down on the basis that Charles Hamilton said, well, I welcome them to come and sue us. I'd like to see what they have that they bring on. Bring it on. Now, this is the guy who's responsible for $43 million revenue in the CSRD. This is his attitude. I'm really disappointed. I hope that the rest of the people on the Rail Trail Governance Committee realize what they've just signed up to with that comment. The mediation might have cost $10,000 a side. This is gonna cost $100,000 a side or more to get to the point of mediation anyway. So I'm really disappointed in Charles Hamilton and the CSRD staff for allowing that comment to come out, like, bring it on. He sat right there, went, bring it on, like, unbelievable.
More comments? Counselor McCabe?
Thank you for going there and doing that. I appreciate you doing that. I'm just curious why talking to a staff member and not elected officials.
We were trying to talk to, the conversation was directed at all the elected officials, but Charles Hamilton chose to hit the button and they gave him the opportunity to speak. And of course, he spoke on his beliefs.
I just,
It's like I said, the whole issue is there was probably a very amicable result to this. We're not talking about major word changes in this crossing agreement. But regardless if the crossing agreement happens or not, I remain adamant that the district of Sicamous wants to control the waterfront within our community. We had no knowledge that we were giving up the entire rights to the control of our waterfront. These people now, the ownership group, which, by the way, when you see any documentation letters sent out to anybody, Splatzen's not on it. They actually, the CSRD and Nord have their own little deal, and then Splatzen has theirs on the side. I thought they were supposed to be working together, but every letter that goes out only has CSRD and Nord on it. They don't mention Splatzen. And Splatzen, from our meeting with Chief Christian, they'd never seen that crossing agreement. And most of the people that we had the interviews with, Terry and I, had not seen the crossing agreement. Now, did they not get the opportunity to look at it, read it, review it? But it's a total lack of information to the elected officials on the governance committee to make a decision. We're being run by the staff. That's who's running us.
Right, Jeff, in regard, any comments on this? Go ahead, Mr. Parliament.
Just to add, and again, for those online and attending tonight's meeting, the district of Sicamous continues to be frustrated with such a simple tweaking of words that would solve this entire thing. So the lack of ability for the ownership group to just tweak a couple of keywords in the crossing agreement and everyone's happy. And I bring to everyone's attention 6K1 in the crossing agreement, which talks about assignability. The current language is, if I own a property on the channel and it comes with a dock, and there's a crossing agreement attached to that dock, and I am in good standing, I've paid my lease payments, I don't have any encroachments, I'm good. I cannot sell that to someone else without the consent of the ownership group, and that consent may be arbitrarily withheld. All we have said all along is just change the language that says, if you're in good standing and there is no encumbrances, assignability will be granted. Or language that says it will be reasonably looked upon for renewal and assignability. It will not be withheld. Something like that. They refuse to. If they were just to change that clause, we have 2 out of the 3 outstanding clauses dealt with. We're down to 1. And that's been lost in this entire ordeal when we then pitch the idea, let us manage, administer it, and let's see if we can deal with our own dock owners. All they have to do is fix those 3 clauses. They've already fixed 1, you can change 6K1. That's 2. And the third one is a very easy one. It has to do with renewal, a 5-year renewal. These are housekeeping items. And the CSRD and the RDNO are refusing to budge on the language, and they invite litigation. I think it's absolutely horrible. And I've talked to the dock owners, change the language in those 3, and they're fine. That's all they've ever asked for. But they've met with zero cooperation. And I don't understand the militant approach to what I consider a housekeeping item. This is assignability of a property. The dock flows with the sale of the property as long as you're in good standing. If you're not in good standing, then the crossing agreement doesn't flow with the sale. It's an outstanding item and it's going to be highlighted, but I'm talking about in good standing. It's baffling. Thank you.
There has been something that's been accomplished out of this, and I noticed it at the last meeting as I sat in with Jeff, and that we are getting across to some of the directors that are on that rail to trail governance committee. Some they made comments that were in favor, and they're in favor of us trying to just find a resolution. They're tired of the battle and they just want to find a resolution. But it just seems that they just are digging their heels in, and unfortunately, they don't seem to want to work with the district of Sicamous when it comes from the bureaucratic side of this. And you know, it's gonna play itself out regardless, because the Dock Owners Coalition are lawyering up, and we'll see where it's gonna end up. But Councillor Malmas tried desperately in order to get a resolution and try to get them to recognize that you know, Lumbee and Armstrong and Enderby and Salmon Arm are not like Sicamous. We are a waterfront community, and it just doesn't seem to resonate in general, but some of them are starting to listen to us. So anyway, we'll see how it plays out. But Mr. Malmas, you did a really good job at that meeting. All right, anything else? Oh, there's one other thing, I think, almost in regards to healthcare midway physicians. You want to discuss that?
I forwarded an article to Jennifer Bruins and basically Midway, I'm not sure if they have a similar system to us, but they have a doctor, the doctor's being paid, and they have a contract. Contract expired. And Midway is not saying why they're not renewing it, and the doctor doesn't know why they're not renewing it. And so the Midway is about to have no doctor, and their nearest facility, I think, is a Soyuz. And so Midway, as its name says, it's the middle of just about no place. And I would have thought a facility like what we're trying to do would have been imperative. So I was just wanting to mention that, so that I don't know what the issue is, but it would be good if our staff would actually look into it and find out exactly what happened there, so that we don't end up with a duplication at the end of the terms that we have with our current doctors. So that's the only reason I brought it up.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more strategic priorities discussion? Okay, good. Thank you for that. Let's see, mayor and councilors reports. So Councilor Aries, you're up.
Nothing to report, I suppose. Yeah, I've been rethinking. Last week we had a kind of a hard meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting to have such a divisive meeting, and it's always fun to or inspiring to sit with a group of people who know all the sides of something, vote against each other, and have an understanding and respect why everyone else voted the way they did. And it's a real pleasure to serve with everybody and speak with citizens who likewise understand that there's pros and cons to everything that we vote on. And it's been a real pleasure serving with everybody who's got this respectful attitude. And I say to you guys and to the residents, I really appreciate a lot of the comments I've heard over the last couple of weeks.
And communities futures education, I think you attended that. So.
Yeah, we did also have the meeting, adjudication meeting for the Shuswap Community Foundation for the $40,000 that Sicamous allocates. But I don't really have any news on that because it's not my job to announce it. But we did do the adjudication, and there's great nonprofits in Sicamous that are getting some money for some worthwhile projects that'll be announced, I think, in a couple months' time.
Thank you, Ryan. Mr. Malmas.
I think I already gave all my reports. They want me to keep it short because they want to go for beer.
Councillor Evans.
I went to the regional library meeting, last week on Zoom, but didn't have to drive to Kelowna. And just been meeting with different folks in town, talking about things going on in Sicamous and getting ready to gear up for the Christmas season. The PAC at the high school is seeking anybody's help to buy 5 turkeys to feed the annual turkey dinner to the high school students. So talk to me if you want to help out with that.
Oh. Okay. Right over you. I was expecting you, then me. I just have to, I'd like to echo what Ryan said. I think that it is amazing that you can just, sit here and have such different opinions, and at the end of the day, you can walk out and everybody's entitled and respected for their opinion. So I think that's a really a good thing in a team. And the other thing is today we had our first finance committee meeting, select finance committee, and we're going over exciting stuff like tax revitalization exemptions. So hopefully we'll see some really good stuff come out of that.
Councillor McCabe.
I have no report.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
So my report.
I've been busy, but
Something I wanted to bring up and was in regards to all the ministries when it come to a conference call that we had in regards to the flooding in British Columbia and the highway closures and whatnot. So Rob Fleming and Lana Popham and Mike Farnsworth and Joey Osborne were all on this call. And I mean, it's been some serious devastation, to the province of British Columbia and supply chains, and you really have to feel for mayors of communities like Merritt and Princeton and the people that lost their lives up by Pemberton and thousands of animals that died in the flooding. And it's just been an awful situation in BC. And now the realization that when these type of things happen, when it comes to wildfires and flooding and all that there has to be more planning in place for how to deal with this stuff when it comes to trying to support people financially, because I have very good friends in Merritt right now that are living in their car in order to get by but it looks like they're finally going to get some sort of support. But it was a terrible time in the history of British Columbia, and we were very fortunate here that we weren't impacted. Could have been slightly impacted based on the water flow that was coming across Highway 97, based on what happened with the wildfire earlier this year. But anyway, hopefully we can get through this, and really we're thinking about the people that had to deal with this from their own personal point of view. Yeah, so on another note, we had budget consultation with Mel Arnold, and some of this came up in that conversation as to how the federal government can maybe help support us. We had this meeting here a while back as well with Mel Arnold, with Kelly and Jennifer, and gave our wish list, and a lot of that wish list was very similar to what the CSRD we're talking about, and a lot of that was communications and stuff like fiber optics and housing and all the different things that we're challenged with. But Mel, I'm sure, is going to help us as much as he possibly can, even though he sits on the other side of the house. Finance budget meeting this morning. Chair Anderson did a great job of that, and along with Kelly Bennett and giving us some input as to where we want to go with the tax revitalization plan. Etsy BC, currently CITIC, their grant adjudication is coming out on Friday. So There will be $500,000 that are going to be given out to different communities in order to help economic development. I happen to sit on that board as well. And I think that's, on the rail trail meeting, joined Jeff with that as well, and Jeff did a great job, and I think that there's no way that we can actually get across more so than we've ever done in order to give, the Rail Trail Governance Committee an opportunity to find a solution for the district of Sicamous. So hopefully we get some results, and it's now up to the dock owners coalition. All right, so that's my report. Long, but let's see here. We have 15 minutes for public. Do we have any hands up at this particular? Deb, if you've got your hand up, we'll wait for the people online, but you get the opportunity to speak first.
Yeah, so I'm not going to, I didn't sign up for a delegation, but Daryl and I are going to meet on Friday. And I know I'm starting to sound a little bipolar, but I've decided that I think we should go for judging this next year if they're doing it. Catherine Candy says they are planning to do it. I want to get 5 blooms before we quit. I can't help myself. So anyway, I feel kind of bad saying anything without meeting with Daryl first, but I'll set up a delegation early in January or whatever and go through our plans for the year once we've had a chance to hash things out. But I think we've got a really good chance of getting the 5 blooms. I think I gotta try. So
We should.
Anyone else from the gallery at this stage? There's only 3 of you. Any hands up?
Not at this time. If anyone would like to address council, please raise your hand online.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands up, so we'll carry on with the meeting. All right, so moving into staff reports, I'll just grab my notes here. Okay, I'm just thinking. I was looking at that one recommendation when it comes to the actual music festival. Where was that on here?
Later on under
That's later on.
correspondence, yeah.
Okay, so let's go with the next thing on staff report, development variance permit application 21-341 DVE 930 Seed Frontage Road. There's a recommendation that the district of Sicamous authorize and issue a development variance permit number 21-341 DVP for the property legally described as lot 4, section 6, township 22, range 7, west of the 6th meridian, Kamloops Division, Yale District 6294, located at 930 Seed Frontage Road, the varied district of Sicamous zoning bylaw number 101, 1993. 403 rear setbacks for commercial buildings and structure from 6 meters to 1.5 meters. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, seconded by Councillor Airy. Scott, you want to give us a report on this?
And thank you, Chair. So this is an application for a development variance permit on 930 Seed Frontage Roads. That's Sicamous Cedar Products. And they're putting a shed at the back of the property, and the setback from 6 meters to 1.5 meters. You can see the property. It's there's kind of 3 properties owned by Sicamous Cedar Products. Earlier in the year, council considered new business and a residence and a recreational vehicle on 926. So this is the one in between that and the main Sicamous Cedar Products. OCP designation is Highway Commercial B, a development. It's also in the Highway Commercial Development Permit area. Because of the location of the building and the size of it, we didn't ask for a development permit. And then it's zone C2 Highway Tourist Commercial. It's for a shed for storage on the property. Here you can see the layout of the property, the entrance coming off Seed Frontage Road, and there's a building on the property now, and they're looking to add that shed at the back of the property So it's required to be 1.5 meters. It's required to be 6 meters, and they're looking to go to 1.5 meters. We sent out to typical agencies within our organization, building inspection, bylaw enforcement, engineering had no concerns or objections. We didn't get a response from the fire department. We also sent out letters to all property owners within 30 meters. We did get a letter back from one adjacent neighbor who wasn't concerned. And then I went and talked to the neighbor who's behind, who's most directly affected. And yeah, she supported the variance. Here you can see they poured the foundation. You can see where it is on the property. And then the final building will look something almost exactly like this. This is one that's on the property now, and they're going to build it exactly the same way. But for a building permit, so they're working with Dale on that right now. But again, it's pretty minor in nature, and we didn't ask for a development variance permit just because of the size of it, but staff's recommending that the variance be issued.
All right, comments or questions from council? Councillor Malmus.
Through the chair, Scott, is this the one that came to the planning committee, or was it 426?
This one did come to the planning committee, yep, 2 weeks ago, and the committee recommended approval.
All right, any other comments or questions? I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor?
You're gonna vote against it.
Keep my eye on that planning committee.
It's a little delayed there, but okay, we got it. BC Hydro Beautification Grant. Recommendation that council commit to 2/3 of the BC Hydro cost projection of up to a maximum of 650,000 to move utilities underground on Main Street between Paradise and Shuswap Avenue. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, seconded by Councillor Evans. Daryl, can you give us a report on this?
Sure, through the chair. Staff, through council direction, have been working on preliminary design for the Main Street revitalization project. This is a BC Hydro component that they would be committing to pay for 1/3 of that. What's needed at this point is a council resolution to commit to the rest of it. As we go further into the budgeting process, we'll have this piece in place if council passes this and provides an option to help with some funding for the underground.
All right, Councillor Malmus, go ahead.
Through the chair, so some time ago, we had kind of loosey-goosey conversations about this. We heard a number of over $1 million to do this. So my question is okay, so BC Hydro is talking about, they're saying the total cost will be between 500,000 and 650,000, and that they would contribute 217,000. So does that include, because Hydro, TELUS, Mascon all use the same poles to do their stuff? Is that moving all of TELUS, Mascon's, all their services down into the ground too? Or is that extra pipe that we're going to be responsible for?
Through the chair, this BC Hydro component is exactly that. It's the BC Hydro component. There would be some savings or some efficiencies running conduit for the other players like TELUS and Mascon. But there are separate costs for that, and I have that all broken out, and I'll be bringing that to the budget meetings as well.
So, Mascon and TELUS are Freddie freeloaders on the poles. And they benefit from it. I'm not sure, maybe they do commit to it, but they used to just hang the wire on there and run it along. And that was BC Hydro's poles. And so now BC Hydro is going to remove the poles, and somehow we become responsible to put the conduit and stuff in the ground for TELUS. Like, this is a whacked up system. Like, that is absolutely nuts that the Hydro wants to take the poles down. I just tell TELUS and Mascon, well, you find another place to put your shit. Like, why would I pay for moving their stuff? They're the ones charging money to provide a service. And because their partner has agreed to remove the poles, we become responsible to restore their infrastructure. Like, that is wrong. absolutely wrong. I wouldn't give them a nickel towards it. They should come along and help dig the trenches and put their own pipe in there. Because they're gonna come back after you put the pipe in and tell you it's the wrong pipe. It doesn't meet the services. We'll have to dig it up and replace it again anyway. So I'm just saying, like, that makes up that is a corrupt system.
All right, point well taken. Any other comments on this? No more comments on it? Well, we have a resolution on it. Councilor Anderson.
Should we table this and push back and see if there's something that they can come to the table with as well? Before we commit to this and not know if Telus and Mascon are willing to.
So through the chair, my opinion would be to just proceed with this resolution, get it in place. We've got a piece in place for the BC Hydro underground 1/3. And if there's other discussions to have with other utilities, we can explore that. This gets the piece in place so that we can go forward.
Okay.
Right, Jeff?
I agree that we should go forward with it, but I suggest somehow that we add in there that Telus and Mascon are responsible for their own. They can negotiate with BC Hydro, not us. They're the ones riding on BC Hydro's poles.
Councilor McCabe.
We can't change this resolution because it's a BC Hydro grant. We have to follow staff's recommendation to deal with other utilities separate from this grant.
Yeah, and I think with everything that we got going on Main Street, we got to get this done. So anyway, any more comments on this? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you for that, Daryl. Thank you for the input from councilors. Okay, CAO report, Shuswap Healing Center and proposed health stay suites. Evan, do you want to clarify this for the benefit of the gallery and the people online as to what we're trying to accomplish here? Please, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've received emails and calls from residents and folks wanting further clarification on our grant application, specifically the terminology used and shared with our partner IHA, and that is health stay suites. That's what they're basically called. A health stay suite come in 3 definitions. Basically, you have a non-patient care suite. It's a health care suite that is not intended for patient sleeping or care. You have a patient care non-sleeping suite. It's a healthcare suite providing care for 1 or more patients, not intended for overnight patient sleeping. And the third definition of a health stay suite is patient care sleeping suite, meaning a healthcare suite containing 1 or more beds intended for overnight patient sleeping. In the grant application, we talked about health stay suites and the need for the new healing center to incorporate health stay suites. In the grant application, the word extended care, extended programs were used, and I think that's confusing the public because it's a rightful question to ask. If the facility, and I've gone on record and in public, is not to be an overnight addiction treatment center, then what's a health stay suite? The health stay suite, back to the 3 definitions, are the first 2, not the third, okay? What we're trying to do is provide a suite for professional allied healthcare workers to spend an evening overnight at their choosing to deliver the programs that this new facility will bring to the residents. So meaning if a locum, which is a doctor paid by the province, comes in to take care and cover the services of a doctor either on vacation or on leave, that locum, the cost of that locum, the cost of the physician is paid by the province under our newly announced rural locum program. But the responsibility of the municipality or the owner of the clinic is to provide them accommodation. So it was the thinking in the grant application, why don't we just build a stay suite for professional allied professionals to use for overnight accommodation. It would simply be a bed, it would be a washroom, and it would be a window, okay? The second purpose of a health stay suite would be available to those who require respite care. So this is like a senior who doesn't have a carer for that day, or a senior who comes to the clinic and has no one to care for them. We would provide them a spot for the day or a couple of hours. We're not providing any suites for patients overnight because our clinic closes at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And when it closes, there is no staff to take care of anyone other than the professional staff person who would sleep in those stay suites overnight to perform their services. So I just wanted to clarify that even though the grant application talks about extended care, it deals with day use. It deals with extended care during the day. Again, the third definition, patient care sleeping units, which is intended for overnight patient sleeping, that's not going to be part of this facility. So the health stay suite, we're hoping to build one, maybe two, it all depends on the budget, is for allied professionals and those that require a place to basically relax while they're being triaged and referred in a suite during that day. It could be for 30 minutes, it could be for 3 hours. According to IHA, the most common use of a day suite, day health stay suite stay, if you will, is a senior who doesn't have a carer. Okay, someone who is not available to just pick up the phone and have a carer, we would provide them a spot for that day or a couple of hours while we find them a carer. Okay. Again, this facility will not have kitchen facilities. So we can't have any patients sleeping overnight, regardless of their complexities, because we have no food services. And secondly, the office closes in the evening, whether it's 5, 6 o'clock. And once it closes, the doors are locked and the staff go home. The clinic is shut down. Okay. So although the language in the grant application, I do admit, is ambiguous when it talks about extended care, what does that mean? I hope this definition and explanation explains it better on what we are desiring to do when we build this new facility. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any comments or questions on this? All right, thanks for that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just a question. So as a stay suite, there's a lot of people that have a senior person and they're in their residence and they're looking after them and they need to get out and go groceries or salmon arm or for maybe their own medical issues, wherever they got to go. Would this room be used to look after that elderly person if they actually needed a care place?
Yeah, I mean,
Today, not.
the whole point of the wellness center, the healing center, is to provide support. It's to assist people when they're hurting. Either it's a mental ailment, it's a physical ailment, and families. At any time the clinic run by our team decides to use that suite for the day for any person that supports wellness and supports that family member or that patient, we're going to do that. And it's at the discretion of the manager and the team. I know that adult daycare is something that's been talked about. There are a lot of people that, have to run chores and they want someone to look after their loved one, or can they tend to them? Well, this is a wellness facility. If we can do that for a couple of hours or give them a spot for 4 hours because it's available for whatever reason, they can stay. We're just not providing overnight. So in short, the answer is up to the management team of the clinic to designate the use of that room to the best ability and based on the program and services and the desires of the patient on what they're looking for, but it's day use only. With the exception of the professional allied person who, and I use the locum as a perfect example, that is going to spend 2 weeks to assist the doctors and they need a place to stay. So rather than put them in a hotel or an Airbnb, we would have a suite for that professional person to stay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So would it be possible to put this to rest by having an operations manual that basically states that there is no overnight stays with the exception of a locum or doctor that's providing a 2-day clinic or whatever. Is there a way in the operational manual to have that?
Well, I know when we are officially open in our new facility, no different than our existing facility, we are an outpatient facility. You come in, you see the doctor, you leave. Outpatient services only. We're not inpatient, where there's overnight patient stay and they require a hospital bed and they require 24-hour nursing, et cetera, et cetera. That's what a hospital's for. In terms of addiction and treatment, that's what the private sector facilities are for. We're not that. So when we do advertise, we're going to let people know that we're outpatient. And I think that's the message the council and staff need to let the public know, is it's no different than our current facility. We have set hours. You come in, you're treated, you're referred, and then you leave. You may stay longer than the average stay. You may stay for 2-3 hours, depending on the nature of your issue. But it's an outpatient service, right? And that's what IHA is supporting. IHA is not supporting that we become an inpatient facility. Hospital beds, overnight care, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? I don't know if that answers your question, but it's important. And I think it's important for us to say this tonight, what this facility will be, so there's no confusion. You know, I guess in summary, we have set hours. Once the doors are locked, they're locked. Now, if someone at 8 o'clock is trying to phone our local physician who lives in town, I'm sure Dr. Sadalam will make, exceptions depending on the severity of the illness. That's the advantage of having a couple of doctors now living in town, but that's up to them. Once the doors are closed, they're closed. We don't run 3 a.m. services, 1 a.m. services, 5 a.m. services. No different than our existing clinic.
Counselor Anderson, go ahead.
Yeah, there has been a lot of discussion about this and a lot of confusion in social media. So maybe we could get this out on our Facebook page tomorrow and get it all straightened out so people understand that it's outpatient.
So we're building a medical clinic or wellness center. I'm not sure what exactly we want to call it, but and we're going to have some additional elements to this compared to what we have now. And I think they're all going to be super beneficial to the community and the people that are going to be attending this particular clinic, including the doctors that we're getting. Thanks for the clarity, and maybe we can get it more clear when it comes to our communications people within the Sicamous. But I'm looking forward to seeing this thing in transition and get it built and move forward, because I think the people of this community are going to really, really be well respectful of that particular facility once we get this thing built. All right, any more comments on it? Okay, then we'll move on. Animal Control Officer, recommendation that the District of Sicamous Council designate the bylaw enforcement officer as the animal control officer pursuant to the community charter. I need a mover on this. Councillor Aries, seconded by Councillor Evans. Do we need any more on this at this particular agenda? Do you want to comment on this?
Oh, certainly, through the chair. This is honestly just a housekeeping matter, just to ensure that our bylaw enforcement officer can exercise the authority provided in the community charter. And it was just something that was noted in the current bylaw that we hadn't, the council hadn't previously extended that authority to the bylaw enforcement officer.
All right, any comments or questions on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Good luck, John.
Good luck, officer.
Wear shin pads. Okay. All right. Correspondence for action. Monashi Music Festival. There's a recommendation here, but we had a conversation earlier with Kel. And I'd like to defer this recommendation to the Finance Committee meeting for future consideration. Are we okay with that? Okay.
Mayor, Andy is on the line if you wanted him to speak to the request at all.
Yeah, you can. We can certainly speak to it, and it might help council make decisions when it comes to the financial implications. Can you find him for us?
He is unmuted, so
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council and community members. This is a financial support letter that our goal is to clarify some of the things that we're requesting for the Monashee Music Festival, which is set to attract 3,500 guests in the Sicamous Dog Park on July 22nd and 23rd of this coming summer. So I think we can all agree with all the negativity around with the fires, floods, and everything in between. We need something to bring the community back together and attract some tourism to the area. So what we're requesting is 12,000, which works out to $343 per person attracted to help with the marketing and promoting of the festival and attracting people to the Sicamous and area. Waive the stage rental fee of $750. Waive the wash car rental fee of $1,000 per day, which is $2,000. Waive the increased policing RCMP costs. In-kind donation of staff time aiding and setup and tear down, including stage, tent, garbage, and recycling organization for July 21st through the 24th. Supply and waive fencing costs and supply 2 large event tents if you have them available for the main gate, security, and first aid. We believe music heals and that there's never been a more important time to bring people together in the community and support the artists and musicians and get everyone back together. We will be following all local, regional, provincial, and federal health and safety laws. So thank you for considering helping us with get the Monashee Music Festival off the ground with your help.
Thank you, Andy. Any comments or questions from council? Councilor Anderson?
So thanks, Andy. So just for clarification, it just sounds like you want us to do everything and you're just going to show up and leave, and we're folding this out, we're collapsing it. You're just coming in, doing a concert and leaving. Is that basically it?
Not at all. There's actually a substantial amount of work that goes into hosting a music festival such as this. Basically, it's a year-long procedure to get everything up and off the ground. The first year is the most difficult and challenging part. Obviously, coming out of COVID-19, it's going to make it even more amplified with the challenges that we're going to have to overcome. There's $300,000 basically is what we're risking and putting out into the community to make this event happen. And the $12,000 is quite conservative. I know it's a big ask for the community of Sicamous, and I can appreciate that. And I can also, you can see through the Merritt Mountain or, you know, the different music festivals that happen around British Columbia and across the world, what they attract to the community and bring in positive nature.
All right, any other comments or questions? Andy, I just want to thank you for the letter because we're right now into our budget deliberations and we're going to have a conversation around this probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks and so forth. And then council will make a decision. This letter lays it all out for us. We know what we're dealing with when it comes to making the decision as to whether we want to go forward or not. So I really want to thank you for the letter, and the timing is actually perfect for us at this particular stage, so we can give this some thought and we'll give you the green light or the red light one way or another here shortly.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Right. Okay, moving on. Correspondence for action, Eagle River Secondary School Grad Committee. Recommendation that the district support the Eagle River Secondary School Graduation Committee by donating. We got a grad raffle letter, final 2022. Do I have a mover on this? Counselor Evans, Counselor Aries. Bob, would you like to comment on this?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, it's been a year, so a full year. You think I'm remembering it correctly, Kelly, CFO Kelly, that we gave $500 to this last year? If you don't recall, well, we can look it up, I guess.
You know what? I don't recall
Okay.
if we actually gave them cash or if we gave them promotional items to give away,
Okay.
but I can find that out.
Okay.
And we gave them money last year?
That's why I asked you, I was hoping your brain
Yeah.
was better than mine. Okay. I can ask Mr. Curtis Bellows, the grad sponsor, what we did last year. If we'd like to wait till the next meeting, sir, to make a decision.
Okay. Any other comments? You good?
We could vote in principle that we're gonna do this, but we don't know how much. I'm not sure what they're looking for.
Why don't we just do what we did last year? Whatever it was, if it was swag or if it was ashola, then let's do the same thing. Did that work for them last year?
Go ahead, Bill.
I think it was a combination. I think we donated some swag and I think it was $500 if I can remember.
Was it $500 for it?
We're not talking scholarships here.
No.
No.
Oh, yeah. I think
Let's just do the
I think it was some swag and $500.
It was, if I may, it's to help out with their dry grad because they can't have an auction.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm just trying to think of how we assisted this with, I think it was with some swag and I do agree, I think it was $500. Would we like to do that again?
Let's just do the same thing.
We need a resolution?
So that was $500 and swag.
Yeah, if we have some.
Just do what we did last year.
Well, yeah, instead, I'll make
Go ahead.
a motion that we match our contribution from last year.
Yeah, that's good.
And-
Have a seconder on that? Okay, Counselor Evans, moved by Counselor McCabe. Any other comments or questions on this? Call the question. All in favor? We're good to go. Thank you. All right, thanks, Bob. All right, correspondence for information. We have correspondence from Lavina Rojas, legislative action on consumer fireworks. Kathy Peters, Vancouver Police Board on sex trafficking, Caribou Recovery, Plug-in BC, Shuswap Watershed Council, and the Columbia Shuswap Regional District. Okay, any comments or questions in regards to any of this correspondence at this particular stage? From Counselor McCabe.
I do because it's 6:04. So.
Come on.
I gotta stretch out 10 minutes. No, seriously. The public electric vehicles for municipalities. We're in budget deliberations. Our previous operations manager didn't like the concept. I don't want to put words in their ex-staff's mouth, but I don't think previous ops manager shined up to the idea of electrifying the fleet. I don't know how many municipalities in BC are doing that, but this letter says that, you know, if we're interested, they're buying electric vehicles in bulk. I mean, if we wanted to purchase one or more, that we get on their list to help scale of economy. I guess it's a question to staff, through the chair. Do we have any desire to go electric, or what's staff thinking about that?
Go ahead, Bob. Question to staff. You had a comment?
I was just gonna say, we could just send you as a delegate to the webinar on December 2nd at 2 p.m. and you can find out some more information on it.
Maybe a 2-day.
It's just a webinar, yeah. No, it's just a question to staff. I think our policy before was not to electrify our fleet right now. Is that change with different staffing, or what's staffing's thought on that?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
As we move forward and need to replace vehicles that are identified in the replacement program, it would have to be the right vehicle for the right situation. I've been approached several times in the last few years from different sales outfits that have electric vehicles for different applications. Some of them say they can get out and plow trails and move snow. I'd be leery about where we place that kind of vehicle, but that's not to say that there might not be an application, perhaps at this building that was available to staff, or maybe if it was one of our smaller vehicles that got somebody down to the water treatment plant and back in a limited way where we're not hauling and pushing and needing too much out of that vehicle. We would look at it. We can certainly look at it as those opportunities come up for replacement.
Thanks.
Okay.
Ed Colleen.
I'm moving on. The Caribou Recovery Program, I think Gord Bushel and I and Sheila from the Chamber have already responded to be part of that meeting. And the Shuswap Watershed Council is launching its water quality grant program. So with the goal of the grant program is to help farmers and landowners keep nutrients on the land and in the soil, being used by crops and vegetation, not washing them off into the nearby creeks and rivers through rain. So there's a grant to assist with things like that. So
The Caribou Recovery Program, I've signed up for this invitation. I know that Gord has as well, and I've got a meeting with Sheila tomorrow morning to have a conversation around that. And anybody else that would like to join in that, see what transpire in the future with Caribou Recovery. Anything else? Anything else on there that you'd like to discuss?
nope.
All right, then with that being said, is there anything else that we have on this agenda? No? Okay, recommendation. What time is it?
6:10.
9 minutes after 6.
We started at 9.
Thank you to all of you that have Zoomed in today, and thank you to the gallery for joining us. And the recommendation at the regular council meeting for November 24th, 2021 be adjourned. Moved by Councillor Malmus, second by Councillor Aries, all in favor. We're out of here at interesting time.
I bet 6